Good evening. I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Town of Rocky Hill Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting for Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. Okay, first thing on the agenda is a public hearing. If I could please have the secretary read the legal notice, please.
Legal notice, Town of Rocky Hill, Zoning Board of Appeals. The Rocky Hill Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 18th, 2023, beginning at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. A, Appeal 2023-03, Danny Porco, representing AMG, PUB2 LLC, requesting a variance from the requirements of the Rocky Hill zoning regulations, section 7.d.3, landscaping buffer requirements to allow for a reduction from 50 feet to 25 feet where a non-residential use shall be proposed on a lot that abuts an R40 or R20 residential district for property located at 2720 and 2736 Main Street in a commercial zone.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of things. Any decision of this board can be taken to Superior Court within 15 days. Also, for the record, I would like to state that Commissioner Fran Whalen will be voting in the absence of Commissioner Elaine Mata, please. Okay. And could I have the representatives for Appeal 2023-03, please?
Yeah. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. My name is Amy Suchins. I'm an attorney at Hurwitz, Agron, Schlossberg, and Nuff with offices in Milford, here representing the applicant AMG Pub 2 LLC. As you just heard from the legal notice, we are here seeking a variance of section 7D33 with respect to the landscaping, the 50-foot landscaping buffer required from an adjacent residential zone. The site is currently developed. I think, as many of you know, it's right at the intersection of 99 and Forest Street, currently developed with a Citgo gasoline station and also a small combined insurance and building with an insurance company and barber shop in it. What we'll show you tonight is the intended development plan and go into a little bit more detail about why the hardship that exists on this property as it relates to the impact of the front yard and various, because of the corner lot, and also the impact of the landscape buffer. So if we could pull up exhibit, I think it's exhibit 1 on the screen first, please.
Okay, I think, do you have it on your?
Oh, perfect. Yes. So what you see here is just the sketch plan to show the existing conditions are the underlying lighter color. This is our proposed development that shows a lot of the detail. Our project engineer will walk you through any of the questions, but I just wanted to familiarize yourselves with the general layout, so that way you understand what I'm talking about with respect to the buffers. So if we could switch to Exhibit 2, please.
I think you can toggle with the thing there right on. Nope, he did it. Nope.
Yeah, it looks like there was only one exhibit open.
Perfect. That's the one. So as I said, what we are looking for here is the variance of the landscape buffer. The site is currently non-conforming. So while we do think that the hardship relates to the 2 front yards on both Forest Street and Main Street, we are also proposing to reduce the non-conformity on the site with respect to the existing deficient landscaping buffer, and also with respect to the existing structures. So what this exhibit lays out is that the building setback requirements are shown in blue around the perimeter of the site. The vegetative buffer along the technically north and east sides of the site, top and left, if you're not looking at the arrow, those are in addition to the building setback. So what you're left with, although we have a site of approximately 52,005 square feet, which is about 1.2 acres or so, our actual developable area is only approximately 18,000 square feet when you wind up putting those two requirements together. So when we look at what we can do with the site and redevelop it in a meaningful way, we looked at what you saw on the first exhibit to demonstrate that if we were to provide all of the requirements and meet all of those things, they don't frankly all fit in the 18,000 square feet. We can demonstrate, Sarah will outline for you some of the things that we looked at with respect to other ways that we could, or limitations associated with a gasoline station with respect to pumps and the layout and access to the site. And then I think the point I wanted to make on Exhibit 4, if we could switch to that one, is this one is intended to show what I had explained with respect to the reduction in the nonconformity on the site. So the area outlined in red is the limits of the existing development on the site. And then what you see highlighted in green is the area that we are now adding to the landscape buffer. So although we're asking for a variance from the 50 feet, we are actually increasing the buffer to the residential zone on the eastern side by 6 feet, and on the northern side from 15 feet existing to, again, a proposed 26 feet. So we are doing some significant benefits there. So I'll stop right there if you have specific questions. Otherwise, I'll let Sarah walk you through a couple of the technical details on just what we're showing on the site and some of the considerations with respect to, as I said, what we could do within the developable area, and then happy to answer any questions or obviously address any questions that the public may have.
All right, thank you. Yeah, let's go ahead and hear the presentation, then we'll go back and ask our questions.
Hi, my name is Sarah Castagliola, PE from BL Companies in Hartford, Connecticut. So the plan you're looking at demonstrates the site layout. We are reducing what's currently 4 driveway curb cuts to only 3. And then, as Amy mentioned, reducing the landscape buffer to the north and the east sides. And this is an increase of 2 gas bays, and we're proposing the minimum number of parking required, which is why the disturbance area couldn't be reduced even further due to the size of the lot and the buffers included.
Okay.
Do you have any more detailed questions?
The vegetation that you're going to do, that you're going to add, is it like what's already there?
Yeah, it will be in a similar style to what's already present along the north side.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Beatty?
Yes, just want to make sure. The specific variance is the 27 feet and back. That's the specific thing you're here for today?
It's for the minimum vegetative buffer adjacent to the residential lots.
Thank you.
Commissioner Roderick?
No questions right now.
Commissioner Whalen?
Have you considered shrinking your building size that would reduce your number of parking spots to conform to our ordinance?
Yes, but we cannot shrink the building to a size that would still fit within all the required buffers.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Puglisi?
No questions.
I have no questions either at this time. Okay. Thank you. We'll open it up to the rest of the public. Is there anybody else here that is for this proposal? Hearing none. Okay, anybody here against this proposal? Okay, can we go ahead and raise the screen, please? I don't think we need that right now. Thank you. Okay, if we could just go ahead and, in an early fashion, step up to the podium, state your name and address for me, please. Thank you.
My name is Robert Chateauneuf. I own the property right behind it, 179 Forest Street. I've been in the town for over 30 years. And number one, I don't care what they do with the traffic to 3, the existing 4, turning it into 3, the Forest Street entrance, and the, it's an offset. It's kind of an odd intersection to start with.
Excuse me. Unfortunately, we can't discuss the parking or the
Okay.
traffic or anything. All we can do is
In
discuss.
reference to
the buffer.
The green buffer.
Yep, yes.
First of all, again, they're 50 foot that they want to decrease to 25 foot, putting it closer to my house, closer to whatever. I don't really see the hardship in the land that they purchased, knowing what they purchased, knowing variances. I really don't know why you have variances if we can come to a meeting and then just have them tossed around. When they did this back, I don't know, maybe 25 years ago when they first put in the lighting in the back, it affected my house immensely and lightened up my backyard. Now, the area in the green that they were talking about, the back part of it's wooded anyways, and I'm not, I wasn't even, it was kind of a vague letter that they sent to us, and I did obtain a map of what they proposed. But, as far as moving and having a building that big and then moving 25 feet, it's not like they're asking for 5 or 10, or they want to just cut this thing in half and just completely move it even closer. And, and it's 4,000 square foot building. It's kind of an astronomical building. But if I'm only allowed to comment on the width of where they want to move it, I'm just, I just know that it's gonna, gonna bring down my property value, but it's between being lit up and noise and everything else, it's gonna be 25 feet closer to me. I'm just not understanding why, you have a variance, you have a zoning, you have a size of the building that's for that zone, and I'm just not understanding why it can be changed at, I don't see from the residential side of it where it's going to do me any good at all. So, that's all I got to say about that part, and I guess we'll have to address any other issues as they come along.
Yeah, any other issues dealing with parking or traffic can be brought up to P&Z if it gets to that point. Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
My name is Steve McLeod. I live at 167 Forest Street. Mine is one property away from the variance property, next to Scott's property. I noticed on the drawings that there was, incidentally or not, there was no real highlight showing where his property house is. It's there, but it doesn't give the detail I think it should, because his house looks right down into it. Now, I'm about 120, 130 feet away, the next lot over. But even so, I'm still categorically against this development because of what it's going to do to the neighborhood. I know that's not why we're here, but this variance determines whether it goes forward or not. So it actually does bear on the neighborhood and its effect on all of us. All the traffic, even though we can't talk about it, bears on what happens from here on out? I mean, if you approve it and it goes through all the other cycles and gets built, that buffer's all we have. To protect residents from commercials that want to come in and just build out to the max. By the way, it wasn't mentioned either, the building that they want to build is 6 times larger than the convenience store that's there now, 6x. And it was not mentioned either, we already have 2 convenience stores on the corner.
Yeah, unfortunately, we need to stick to what only we
Okay,
are
okay.
able to rule on in this commission.
But from a hardship standpoint, that's what we're here to talk about, hardship, right? As I look at your guidelines online, looking for a way to kind of put together a presentation, I came across your guidelines, and I thought, wow, what a treasure trove of info. I mean, it's actually really good for someone, a dummy like me that wanted to do this. But there's a lot of things that get stated in there that I think apply to what is trying to be done here, so to speak. I mean, from just the definition of hardship, it says that it has to be such that it's unusually difficult for a landowner to comply with the regulations because it has to be some unique or particular aspect of the property. Okay, the unique or particular aspect, I mean, in the write-up, the narrative too, I saw that the comment unique hardship is that this 50-foot buffer keeps them from doing what they want to do. Well, that appears to be a self-created hardship. And your guideline says clearly you can't do that. Hardship cannot be self-created. And by self-created, I mean for financial gain. It's not to me, in my opinion, it's not clearly a hardship that bears up to the definition. And also it mentions financial considerations as it applies to a hardship are not usually a sufficient reason to approve a variance. And again, in my opinion, this is clearly for financial consideration, and it's defined as a unique hardship, but it's a created hardship, so they can do what they want. Again, come in and do what they want to make a lot more money. Only 1 or 2 more points. So in closing, like I said before, if this gets accepted, gets built and done, we lose the buffer, and that's really all we have to protect us from commercial entities that want to come in and do this. Again, I'm categorically against this variance.
Hello, I am Paula Braden, and I'm representative of Stepney Circle. There's several people that could not come today, so I said I would come.
Could you just, what address at Stephanie Circle, please?
We own 5, 11, and 21.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and we are 5. Stepney Circle is part of the northern border of where they're talking about shrinking the boundary here. And what we saw in there that was concerning to us was the 4-foot fence, and they were getting rid of some of the vegetation. Currently, we wanted to let you guys know that currently when we're in our backyard at 5, we can hear what's going on at Sitco, especially during the wintertime. And there is nothing in that back corner at the moment. By the drawing that we were given, they were going to put a dumpster, and there's going to be parking and a bunch of other stuff, and then there's a walkway and a crosswalk. So our concern is that we have very small children, and there's a 4-foot fence is not very much barrier, and there's no sound barrier. And currently, with the small size of the Sitco, there's already significant noise that pollutes our backyard and keeps us from being in our backyard. We're like, okay, fine, but we're trying hard not to complain. But to create a much larger development with a lot more traffic and a lot more noise, it is going to cause us a greater hardship. But it's also, we are worried about, there is no sound barrier on here, and we are concerned about security for such a big development. Those are our concerns for. Did I get them all? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Parenti. I live at 128 Forest Street. I would just like to quickly state I am not in favor of the change from the 50 feet to the 25-foot buffer. I want to maintain the integrity of our neighborhood, my neighborhood. We have many school-aged children also, and some with disabilities, and I'm very concerned for their safety from the increased population and also traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mike Garrity, I live at 2 Stepney Circle. My concern with reducing the buffer is, like everybody else has said, the noise. I hear every tanker truck that comes in there all hours of the day and night, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I hear them come and get the dumpster at 4 o'clock in the morning. I've asked the manager several times to have the dumpster guy come after 7 o'clock in the morning, and was told that's not my problem, I have no control over it. So with the size of the station it is now, how many more times a week are they gonna come get the dumpster? My son works second shift. They're coming at 1 o'clock in the morning to drop off fuel. The caps will make you sit straight up in bed if you don't know what the noise is. And it's a little ridiculous that they are claiming hardship, but they knew what the plot plans were for the property that they bought. So now they bought it and they're gonna claim hardship. I think it's kind of BS. You know, you can't claim after the fact hardship when the plans for the property were available before you bought it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're gonna have to let them rebut.
Of course.
My name is Astrid Kodrasi, 2708 Main Street. I think we are the closest with the gas station. Living in this beautiful town in Rocky Hill, for us, is nightmare that our house is close to the Citgo. Been for 24 years that we live in there, it's been the worst experience that we have it with Citgo. And the reason they're saying that is that, the guy spoke before me, is 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock afternoon, the truck coming to refill the pumps. You can smell, it doesn't matter, you lock the door, the window, you can smell the gas all over. Sorry. That is one issue. The second is, I know that we cannot talk about the traffic, but it's been few times, and I called town because what happened in a property, the 18-wheel truck parking at night with the engine on, and we have to call police, we have to call few times the manager in a Citgo, because they are not allowed to keep the truck. They can park whatever they can park there, but not to leave the engine on. Hey, we're going to fix it, we're going to do this, but a few weeks ago it happened again, I have to call town again to take care. That means those problems are making our life here very bad. The biggest concern, the other thing is that, like I said, we are very close to the property, the Citgo property. First of all, we are against this proposal. Not this proposal, but for me, it was the wrong decision that we allowed the business, commercial business, close to the residential. It's a lot of bushes over there. We got kids, we got granddaughters. The driver coming, you have to live to believe it. That is like a restroom. You are outside your house, you are in the deck with kids. And driver coming over there, going to bushes, it doesn't matter who is around. They do it like it's a really restroom. And now they want to cut it in half, the buffer. That is unacceptable. Last year, or if I'm correct, they did some work over there. They put new tanks in the ground. You cannot believe it. Look like earthquake every day. We called town, hey, what happened? Oh no, they got permit. They got to do it whatever they have to do it. We are forced to move 2 granddaughters in Boston because they cannot live there. From 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock every day was shaking. And now we want to do a coma construction in a Sitco. If they want to do it, I'm engineering too. They got technology. If they want to do it, they got to the lady said sound protection. Put around over there. I don't want to hear anything what happened in a Sitco gas station. But nobody's closer than me. That's what I'm saying. Maybe I'm frustrated for what happened. You cannot enjoy your life in a deck. You cannot open a window. You have to sleep with window closed. It doesn't matter. You got fresh air outside or not. You cannot open window because 2 o'clock the guy coming with the truck and throw the equipment in the ground and you make noise. You have to wake up 2 o'clock every day. I hope you guys make the right decision, and this is not acceptable to get this proposal going. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. I am Amy Slavka, and I own 29 Stepney Circle. I do want to say for the record, I am against this proposal, especially this variance. The buffer right now is actually full-grown trees, bushes. There is a privacy and a safety buffer now between the properties. In order to reduce that buffer, there go the trees, there goes the growth. It reduces privacy, it reduces safety. There has been an increase in crime at that Sitco as of recently, and in the adjoining area. That's on record. You can pull the police reports. There's been robberies overnight. I think that reducing that buffer, making it more open, opens the Forest Street and the Stepney Circle, which isn't even shown on the plans that they've offered. You can see Forest Street, but not Stepney Circle, and Stepney Circle is directly abutting that neighborhood, that development and proposal. So it decreases safety. It decreases our property values. I mean, who wants to buy a house that's directly overlooking a very large gas station? When Cumberland Farms was built on France Street, there's a wall there. There were preventative measures taken. This is not being proposed here. In order to decrease that ordinance to 25 feet, you're getting rid of the buffer that they have existing. So that's really all I have to say. I think this is just a catalyst for future variances, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. I'd love to talk to the developers about what their plans are next. But that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Henry Doobie, 163 Forest Street. And the same thing as you heard, noise. At night, trucks come in, they pick up the garbage. Those trucks are noisy. It's just going to be, the noise is going to be triple. And I think you got to use different buffers too than what is there now. Even if it doesn't pass, you need better buffers. Okay?
Thank you.
That's all I can say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yep.
Robert Shadnoff, 179 and 170 Forest Street. And yeah, I was cocked and ready to go on a whole lot of different issues here. But bringing into consideration again with the hardship thing, this was a created hardship, as somebody mentioned. They bought the property knowing very well what the zoning rules were and regulations. And again, as that fellow said, he lives the closest, and I do know his pain. But my house is going to be the one. They're taking away the 25-foot buffer, moving this building even closer. And I do feel that there's a lot riding on the passage of this variance. Once that variance is passed, well, a few more meetings and everybody gets what they want. But by them, you know, putting this building 25 feet closer to my property is going to greatly affect my quality of life, and you know, and my property value, and you know, everything else that's going to go after the variance if it was approved for a astronomical 4,000 square foot building, which is absurd. So I just want to let you know that that variance will be greatly affecting my quality of life, you know, in a home that I had just purchased myself, but we lived in it for 13, 14 years prior to it. My kids grew up in it. But we just purchased the house a year ago with the full intentions of moving back across the street, you know, and making this our house because it's smaller than the one we live in now. And unfortunately, we found out about this about 3 weeks after we purchased the house, that, you know, this proposed, that this Atlantis or whatever the corporation is had purchased that property. And so, again, I just want to reiterate strongly against the variance change. So, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, this time I'd like to give the applicant chance to answer any questions that the residents have had.
Yep. So I just want to go through a couple technical items that were raised, and then Sarah will discuss the question about, you know, even if what I had alluded to earlier, that even if this were a smaller building size, given that limitation of the developable area, the constraints there. But again, I think the important thing that I did want to highlight, if we could bring Exhibit 4 back up. So what I wanted to explain, because I think in a couple of the comments, perhaps there was a little bit of a misunderstanding about exactly the scope of what we're asking for in the variance. The site is currently non-conforming with respect to the requirement that there be a 50-foot vegetated buffer between either of these two commercial uses and the residential component. So what this proposal does is actually, as I said earlier, it decreases the nonconformity in that green area. So what we're doing is, in fact, increasing the amount of landscaping that's shown, that exists on the site in that green area. And the site, not only size-wise is it non-conforming with respect to the requirement, it's also not planted. Which exhibit is the landscape? SK2. Could you bring up SK2, please? Right. So what we're showing here is this is a preliminary landscape plan, because obviously we need to understand whether or not or what area we have to landscape. So this is consistent with the plan that I showed you. So what happens here, and you can see in the details, is that the additional landscaping as required by the regulation would be added to the area that will remain the landscaping buffer. So depending on where you are in the site, I think our narrowest is still a 26-foot landscape buffer, and that is then compliant with the technical requirements in Section 7D 3, that it be planted with a certain amount of evergreens, native shrubs, et cetera. As you can see here, the tentative plant list is called out. It includes balsam firs, white spruce, pines, and various holly and other types of sort of ornamental shrubs. So the intent is not to minimize the amount of landscaping on the site. It's just how much of the site, as I showed in that earlier exhibit, in that sort of blue-green differentiation, what of the site would in fact be landscaped. But the intent, just to be clear with everyone, is for the area that will be landscaped. If you were to grant the variance, the remaining buffer will be landscaped in accordance with the requirements. It's not a request it's a request to reduce the size of the buffer, not the planting requirements of the buffer, just so everyone's clear. And then I think the question came up about, and alluded to by some of the comments about what we could do. I disagree with the fact that this is a self-created hardship. Self-created hardship involves the ability, something that is strictly financial. Here, what we're pointing out is the fact that when you impose the requirements of the two front yards and the landscaping buffer on a site that is relatively small, and frankly, if you were to only use each of these lots, rendering them using the building setbacks and the landscape buffers makes these sites virtually undevelopable, because the building setbacks and the landscape requirements wind up eating up the vast majority of the sites. So let me turn it over to Sarah and give you a little bit more detail. She can walk you through some of the technical components of, even with a smaller building, the requirements for parking and drive aisles that are associated with any development on the site.
So just to reiterate, we are reducing the amount of, or increasing the buffer that would be in place from what is existing, which is why the existing development was able to fit on the lot as is, was because it had a greater nonconformity than what we are proposing. And so to facilitate safe maneuvering throughout the site for both trucks and pedestrians and cars, you need this amount of space. Otherwise, you're looking at a variance for other requirements, such as like for the canopy for the pumps. We would then be looking for a building setback variance request. So we believe that in all aspects, this is overall improving the site as it is today, increasing the buffers and all the plantings, and making a safer development.
That's because you don't live there.
Okay, please. Okay. Go ahead.
Dave, can I ask a question about distances?
Certainly.
I have two questions for you. The existing buildings now, how far are they from the house, the first house on Forest Street, and the house on Stephanie Circle? And then tell me what it is now, or what it's going to be if this was approved.
I think it's SK1.
SK1.
Dimension from the back of the building to the corner here, about, give you an approximate idea.
So you're asking about which dimension measurement, which house?
I want the one on the corner of Stephanie Circle where the gentleman complained about the noise, and
Yeah, so we have.
Give a dimension. 4 feet.
Was the
There's a dimension to the property corner there.
Right, so using EX1, which is the location survey, the existing, sorry. We don't have a dimension from our property line to their house because it's off-site. So what we can tell you is that right now, using the existing conditions survey, the building at the front, sort of the existing sort of store building, is 47 and a half feet off the property line. That building gets entirely removed, and so then you have 26 feet of landscaping increased from 15 currently. So it's a 9-foot increase in landscaped buffer beyond existing conditions on that side. And then that building is removed and you have another 25. So then you have the parking spaces, some of which, sort of are there. So then you're basically, the new drive aisle is 25 feet, basically, in the location of where the existing building is. And then you get to the first corner of the pump canopy. So we're moving the building, the closest thing to that property line by about 27 feet. Right, 25 to 27 feet further away
Because this is going to buffer right up against that. That's going to be closer.
Further away.
Okay.
9 feet of which.
Yeah, we got,
Yeah, we can't have comments from the, well, that's why.
We
well,
still
that's
can't
why
do it. It's not your
We still
turn.
can't do it. That's why we're here to ask them the questions that we need.
You don't know what it is, it's right here on the map, 84 feet 6 inches. That's just the property line, not the house. The new proposed building's 27.
Okay,
Just go up to the mic.
okay. And then, first of all, so you still need to come up to the mic, but go ahead.
For the record, I think he's talking about a different property. I think the gentleman in the audience is talking about the property on Forest Street. I believe I was being asked about the property at the corner of Main and Stepney.
I asked about both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to give you the answer on the Main Stepney building. We don't have a location for where that house is on that property. It's not on our survey. So, but what I'm telling you is that the closest corner of the canopy is shifting over to the edge of the existing building, so approximately 25 feet further away from the property line. And there will be an additional 9 feet of landscape buffer on that side beyond existing conditions.
Okay, all right.
And then the issue on Forest Street, we have, so the dimension on our survey goes from the corner of the building to the and now we're talking about not the existing Sitco building, the commercial building, is approximately 84 feet, but it's at a diagonal when you look at the survey, so it's not straight back to the house. And so then there we're increasing boundary. Hold on, I'm just making sure we're looking at the right note. Southeast. So then with that, the landscape buffer is 27 feet with the new building. On that portion, it does decrease, but the same thing applies there, that site does not comply with your current regulations with respect to the landscape buffer.
Right,
It's
right.
just lawn.
Right.
And so that's also a nonconformity. What we're proposing is to better that situation by providing the 27 feet of landscape buffer in accordance with the regulations.
Okay.
Did you have something, Dave?
I had just a couple items. First of all, I just wanted to note for the record that the sign, public notice sign was posted on the site, and we were provided with receipts for the certified mailings for the notifications. I did have two items I wanted to direct through you that may help the board in their decision. Is just for clarification, the proposed plan is indicating I think 3 vacuums and an air compressor within the requested variance on the north side of the property. And also, it's currently the operations there are 24 hours a day, and probably should be clarified if that's going to continue if approved.
Okay, yes, thank you, definitely. Are there any questions from the board? Can you please step up to the mic?
Do we need the screen down?
It's a
Or,
rebuttal now.
Madam Chairwoman, do we need the screen down, or can we raise the screen?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Can we raise the screen, please?
I feel weird just seeing.
Black screen.
Half everybody.
Yeah, half the people.
I'm just curious as to how many people here got a certified letter to this meeting? So how did they produce receipts for certified mail if nobody had gotten any certified mail? So already the misinformation is starting.
I have the receipts right here.
I can probably figure out how to print those out myself, too.
They're stamped by the postmaster.
Mine didn't come to the house certified. Came in regular first-class mail.
Correct. The mailing requirement, just to be clear, is not certified mail. It's certificates of mailing, which is what so when we submit these, this is a form provided by the post office. What happens is that when you go to the post office, as the staff can confirm, the signature that's on the certificate of mailing is signed by a representative at the post office. So these are stamped and signed by the post office and given back to us when we submit the mailing. So they are not sent certified mail, they are sent certificates of mailing. Because the typical problem you have with certified mail is that if people don't pick them up, oftentimes people don't, that they don't get them. Obviously, a number of people got notice, and we did provide the original certificates.
Correct. I misspoke in saying certified mail. It is certificate of mailing, and that's standard practice for all the applications before this board.
Certified.
Part of the problem with it going out regular mail is people see stuff from a lawyer's office and just think it's a scam or whatever. So how many of them probably got thrown away? Who knows? I think this should be revisited with everybody be sent certified return receipt requested.
Yeah. Well, that's something that we can discuss on a later.
That's within the radius.
Right, yeah, and that's something that we can discuss at a later time too, about maybe changing that. But right now, we can't, we can't change it obviously for this one, considering the mailings have already gone out.
Right.
We do have certificates that the mailings did go out. Whether the people actually read them, we have no control, and the applicants have no control over that, unfortunately.
I understand that, but does everybody here open every piece of mail that they get to their house?
Right.
Don't
but
put your hands up at once.
Right, at this point, it doesn't really,
I understand that, but for any future things.
Yeah, and that's something that we can address.
There is a certified return receipt
Sure,
requested.
and that's something that we can address with the town and change our policies on that. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Roderick?
I do have some questions. Do I have a limit on how many questions I can ask?
No. No, you can have
No.
Great. So first, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you for coming. Bear with me on my questions. There is a method to my madness. I think I know the answer to my first one based on some comments you all made a few minutes ago, but did you know the details of the current zoning irregularities for the existing structure and properties before you committed to making a design? So in other words, did you do your research on what you stated? I forget your exact verbiage, but you stated it's already non-in-compliance. Did you already know that? Did the staff already know that for the design firm before creating the current design as it stands in front of us?
Correct. That the site is non-conforming, and we were aware of the
You
fact
were
that the
totally
site
aware of
is
that.
non-conforming.
Okay, great. Knowing that it was non-conforming already, and clearly a lot of effort was put into this current design, was there any consideration to creating an alternate design that accommodated either our current zoning regulations or the existing non-compliance, so that you would never have to be in this situation where we had to have a debate and a hearing about it? Was there any alternate design created?
Right. So what we looked at, and again, Sarah sort of touched on this, is even with a smaller building, with parking requirements under your regulations, the building setbacks, and the vegetative buffer, we are only left with a certain amount of area. I just did a preliminary calculation. If you cut this building in half and use the same number of pumps, because we're only increasing the pumps by 2, we have almost 6,000 square feet dedicated to just building and parking. Forget moving any vehicle on the
I understand that. I don't mean to
So-
talk over you, but the question was an alternate design considered?
It was considered,
Was
yes.
there anything done to sketch it out or actually compare the two, or be prepared for that eventuality? Was it just a hypothesis or an exercise mentally, or did somebody actually create another diagram?
I don't think there was a diagram that went further, because this plan reduced, as I said, reduced the nonconformity. It pulled things away, minimized the number of variances, and actually, like I said, improves the nonconformity. So the idea of pretty much any redevelopment on this site would require a variance because of how large the landscape buffer and setbacks are.
Okay, all right. And looking at this design and seeing that, we have vacuums, we have parking, we have quite a number of gas pumps, we have a new building.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, I apologize for interrupting. If we could have the audience, I'm not trying to be impolite,
No,
but I can't follow the question because there's a lot of talking in the audience.
Yeah, just be patient, everybody.
Yeah,
It'll be okay.
please, everybody, I know this is a touchy subject for the residents, we get that, but we need to hear what the applicant is saying, along with our other commissioners. So if you could just please keep the chatter down, please, so that we can hear the applicant and the applicant can hear us. Please, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
Thanks.
So, again, if my questions seem odd, there's a method to my madness. How was this design arrived on? What was the goal? Obviously, it's a retail establishment. You want to make money. You want to increase profit. But how was this layout arrived on? Was it based on surveys of the existing property? Was it based on other properties you may have in the portfolio that are similar? How was this particular design arrived on?
It was based on a mix of the existing survey, our jurisdictional review of your town zoning regs, and then facilitating safe maneuvering throughout the site. Like, for example, there is one requirement that one side of the building cannot have parking along it. It has to be a drive aisle. And due to the narrowness within the buffers, you really only have room for parking in a drive aisle, or the gas bay is in a drive aisle. It's too narrow to do anything else there.
Now, my last question for the moment has to do with some of the sound mitigation. Has anything been considered, has any survey been done of the residents to see if there's any current complaints? Has any research been done into current complaints for this property? And was any consideration given, in addition to the additional vegetation you described, installing sound buffering walls around the perimeter? So that, and I'm just saying this as somebody who lives in the town, I am very familiar with that particular property, so I know some of what our residents have been talking about. And if that was consideration, if you were aware of that, installing that kind of buffering around the perimeter would be a great asset to the neighbors.
So I guess in my mind, there's a differentiation. number one, there's landscaping. Number two, there's a fence. Number three, I think as we heard, and I didn't, I'm sort of going to wrap up with it, we are happy to address operational questions as far as limitations on times of deliveries or trash pickup. If those are components that need to be addressed, we are willing to do that. I think practically speaking, those are probably more in the planning and zoning jurisdiction, but we will make the representation that we will commit to addressing some of the issues that we heard here tonight. Frankly, a sound wall, a true sound wall, is not a consideration at this property because they are cost prohibitive. I mean, my experience with sound walls is that, even a distance of 100 feet would probably be $1 million, if not more. The experience I had with a sound wall about 8 or 9 years ago was that 50 to 75 feet of sound wall was going to cost north of $500,000. So, something like you would see along Interstate 91. I lived for a very long time at the intersection of 91 and 691, and so I'm certainly familiar with, that kind of background noise and that kind of thing. Those true sound walls are ridiculously expensive because of how dramatic they are. So that's why it wasn't really a consideration here. But to the extent that we can try to mitigate sound through landscaping, through fences, things like that, and address the operational considerations, I think that gets to a much more practical solution to the things we're hearing from the neighbors.
Thank you.
Commissioner Beatty, anything?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Whalen?
I do. Could you describe your landscape buffer or your vegetation buffer? How many feet of trees, or is that including grassland? What is your buffer
If
defined
we
as?
could put up, was it 6? SK2 again, sorry. So this was not in your package because this is something that we were working on as the application was pending. So again, if you look at the regulations in section 7D3, there is a very specific component to, non-residential development shall have tall shade trees of a certain size. The D3, the buffer requirement has, in particular in the section for which we are seeking the waiver of section 1. And so that's when I said earlier, we are looking for a waiver on specifically subsection 1, where it says a depth of not less than 50 feet. We are not trying to vary anything in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with respect to the landscaping. So with, 4, for example, says ornamental fences, berms, walls, in combination, those involve, that can only be 25%. We have put in the, we're still intending that we comply. So all of that, parking lot landscaping, everything else, that's where the genesis of this design plan comes from, as well as the expertise of our landscape architect.
Thank you.
Keep that up, please, Commissioner.
Two simple questions, if I may. I'm looking at the house on the east side, which is behind the existing building, right over near Forest Street. It's the first house.
Yes.
Now, I know that house is up on a slope, so it's difficult to create any sound barrier there. However, how far up on that slope will your vegetation be, will the trees that you put in? Is that right down near the parking lot now, so that it's not going to have as much of an effect on that house?
Yeah, so go ahead, I was going to say, let's Sarah.
No, the intent of that landscaping is to be at the top of the slope there, so that'll provide the maximum screening.
Okay, thank you. That's one question. The other question I have on the proposed plot plan, all of the pumps are over near Route 99. Great. Now, right now, I know all the semis come in and they go way toward the back of the property to fill the tanks. Are the routing of those trucks, is that going to be different? Will they be still going behind the building in order to fill the tanks? What's going to happen?
The
there?
tanks will not be relocated. They will stay in the same place as they are today.
How will the trucks approach them? Will they back in near the vacuums? Because clearly, the semis coming in and running their engines is a concern for the neighborhood.
We ran a truck maneuvering. I don't have it with us today. We would have it for a planning and zoning presentation, but the trucks will be on top of the tanks while they're filling.
And is that, are you sure that it's, or no, my question is, are you not sure whether it's behind the proposed building or in front of it?
Excuse me, the tanks are shown basically in the center of the parking lot between the proposed building and the northern property line. There's a dash with the little circles on it.
Yeah, in front of where the dumpster is.
Yeah, in front of the dumpster area.
So the dumpster fence will also provide some screening there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Please. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. I have maybe even a couple suggestions. One, the fact that you would be planning on that slope is a help. There's no way you're going to completely block out the sound and everything to that house completely. But building on that slope as high as you can get up on that slope would be a help. The thing with the sound wall, we're not saying and I don't know if Commissioner Roderick, if I'm going against, please forgive me. But, that was my thinking too, of having some kind of sound barrier via a wall. Doesn't have to be one of like you see on 91 or 84 or something like that. But I'm sure there are some things out there on the market now that might not cost, upwards of $1 million for 100 feet of fencing to go up. There's got to be something that can be done to help these residents. All right? One, buffing up that vegetation on the north side along the house on Main Street. You still have some green area there. I would have loved to have seen this plan presented to us tonight. Because that is what our major factor is going to be, is what this buffer is going to be made up of. And to see it on this screen, really, we can't get, or at least I can't, get a good picture of exactly what is going to be planted in there.
We have a hard copy. If you want to see the hard copy, we're happy to submit it. We provided it electronically because usually we wind up with better view from the audience, but we have a
Right.
hard copy if you'd like it.
Yeah, if you have, because, I would like to see, now, the slope that you've got between that grassy area, the slope on the eastern side of it, thank you. Thank you very much.
Take that one down.
The grassy area that's up in the eastern side of the plan that abuts the forest and the Stephanie Circle. What is the slope on that? I just refresh my memory because I can't remember what the slope is back there. That's going to be behind the eastern side of where your proposed dumpster area is going to be?
That's a slope. Yeah.
Yeah, but over here.
We're just looking for a plan to see if we have the the topography lines on it, because they're
Yeah.
not on this.
Yeah, that would have been nice to have too, some topography lines.
Is it on?
See, these are all small.
I think it's on.
Yeah.
That's right.
The 7-foot heights. Planting size. Okay, got a couple maples.
But they drop their leaves.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see some more evergreen. Tall evergreen. These are all short.
No, we don't have anything that has the topo lines behind the landscaping, because it's the existing condition, and the existing condition doesn't have the existing condition survey, because we're not changing any of that, does not have the lines called out on it.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see that at least up to your property line. Because what you could do is you could also beef up the vegetation back there.
We're happy to do that. If the solution is planting, within the existing, the regulation does, sort of specifies that we're supposed to try and maintain anything that we have, but if you want us to supplement it, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, because I'd like to see, in my opinion, a lot more taller evergreens in the back. Yeah, like
In the back,
arborvitaes.
meaning on the eastern side.
Correct, on that entire eastern side. That way you'll have that for the wintertime too. You'll have that coverage instead of putting a maple up there that's going to drop its leaves in the fall. And then you're going to have to contend with the neighbors complaining, don't get me wrong, guys, but complaining that they're picking up your leaves. But just something that's a little bit more substantial, that's going to fill it in more. The more denser that you put it back there, it's going to help with sound.
We're, as I said, we're certainly open to adding additional landscaping.
And what is it a deal breaker if you don't put in the extra 2 pumps, if you bring it down to 10 pumps? With the existing pumps?
I mean, it would, I guess, why?
Well, no,
It
because I'm
doesn't-
just
it doesn't-
thinking, because, okay, it's a 4,000 square foot building. It is quite large. It's going to be the largest, and I know I'm getting on a little bit of a tangent here. Forgive me, Vice Chairman. That, it would be the biggest gas station / convenience store on that stretch. Until you get way down the northern part of town when you get into the shell. And in that area, I don't see it, but again, I can't base my decision on the square footage of that building. I have to look at what you're doing with green space, what you're going to do with those buffers. I do like the idea that you are going to have some green space there. That I like. But again, beef up this vegetation. As much that you can do to help these people and work with these residents, putting up a fence. If you have to come back to us for another variance on a fence height, then so be it.
My experience is that ZBAs tend not to want to continue hearings. If you want us to come back with a more fulsome landscaping plan that you can see, we're certainly happy to do that if that is what, in having a better understanding of what we are actually seeking to vary with respect to those things. We are certainly happy to do that. The reason I asked the question about the pumps is because the pump layout is, number one, consistent with the number of pumps we have right now, and 2, doesn't change the landscape buffer requirement. So even if we were to take off some of those pumps, it doesn't give us space to add landscape buffer. So that was the reason for my question. But again, if you want to see, an additional landscaping plan, with more information in order to make your decision, we can certainly take that request and add, we can get the topo lines for you in the back and add that landscaping.
Yeah. Dave, could you also refresh my memory on the square footage of the building, how many parking spots per?
There's a parking schedule on the proposed plan on the right-hand side. I
It's
believe.
actually on the landscaping plan in the block of the building. It requires 34 total parking spaces on site.
So if let's just say, just hear me out, if we would drop that down and say to 2,000 square feet, are we looking at that maybe we'd have to have half the number of parking spaces?
It's 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet, so right now.
16.
Yes, it is.
Right, it's 16 now, so it would be half of that if it was a 2,000 square foot building. If I'm understanding this correctly, you counted the parking spaces for the pumps towards the store as well?
Right. So the requirement under the regulations is the 4 per 1,000 and then 1.5 spaces per pump.
Okay.
And that's all shown on the zoning chart.
Plus the whole building.
Yeah. Refresh me, what's the square footage of the existing Sitco?
Just the building?
Sorry,
2,400?
2,400?
Roughly.
So it's almost doubled,
Isn't
okay.
that-
Right. So depending on what you're counting as far as the canopies and covered areas and stuff, the
No,
building.
building.
The building is 20, it's small.
Yeah, it's
There's no
one
question.
is 600, and the
Yeah.
other one is 2,400.
The building, yeah, the building at the old barber shop and everything, that's 2,400.
2,400.
So
So this is 4 times.
Right. So the gas station building currently existing on existing conditions is 648 square feet. And the existing building on the commercial building is 2,474 square feet. So on the combined site, we're increasing by, probably just under 1,000 square feet over existing conditions.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say combining the two and then combining the two buildings and then, because that other building there is all going to be parking lot. So I don't know. I'm at a quandary on this one.
Well,
Quick question. How many
Here we-
diesel pumps are in green? I know it's,
There's
a reasoning behind this,
There's 12 pumps.
but how many are gonna be for diesel?
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah, I know
nothing-
what he's doing. I know what he's thinking, because he's thinking, oh, we're going to get the bigger sized trucks in there. How are they going to maneuver in there?
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Can I,
I'm going to
can
close
I,
it.
can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Dave, if we make a recommendation that the planning and zoning has to increase, okay, the vegetation on this property, can we do that, or we can't do that, that's their decision?
You can put a condition on a variance. It's unusual, but you can put a condition on a variance.
Right. And actually, under your regulations, the Planning and Zoning Commission has the authority to waive up to 20% of the buffer requirement in the first place.
Correct.
So theoretically, we could go to P and Z and ask them to waive 20% as well. I think it came here because I think that's the correct way to do it. But I think the one other thing I just wanted to get back to was, to the extent that the question about, there are diesel pumps, to the extent that the question is about, potential for tractor trailers or other pumps, there's no intention to have the high-speed pumps that would facilitate, a tractor trailer type fueling here. That's not the intent. It's just.
Not yet.
Okay. All right, I think we're going to go ahead. Are there any other questions from the commission?
I just think you have to read one letter into the record that is
That's
approved.
approved.
We did receive one letter to the zoning board of appeals regarding 2720/2736 Main Street, AMG Pub 2 LLC, to whom it may concern. We are in favor of the change, therefore being in favor of the AMG request. Signed, Blair and Shelley Goudreau, 28C Carillon Drive, Rocky Hill, Connecticut, 06076. That was received on July 14th.
Okay, thank you. Okay, hearing no other questions from commission, can you please raise the screen? Thank you. Can I get a motion, please, to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Am I allowed to say just one more thing?
We just closed it. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. I have a second.
Second.
Okay, and
Yes, it was just a second.
Don't, Mike. We were in the process of closing it. I'm going to be honest with everybody, and I'm not trying to be mean. Please understand this. We've given a lot of leeway in this public hearing, okay? A lot of leeway. We wanted to hear everybody, okay? But we also need to decide on what we're going to do, okay? We appreciate everything all the public has had to say in this matter. We do take these items very seriously, okay? So, thank you for being patient. Okay, I have a second. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, public hearing is closed. Going on to new business. Could I have a motion for Appeal 2023-03, Danny Porco, 2720 and 2736 Main Street?
If the commission wants to take a look at a new proposal about the vegetation, I would make a motion to table the variance and have them come back with that. If not, then let's vote one way or the other on what we want to do. But that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, we can't.
I don't think
We
it's going to
closed it.
change the vegetation amount.
Yeah,
They're
we
not going to
closed
be
the
able to
public
change
hearing.
it.
We should have tabled the public
Can't accept new
hearing.
information with the public.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, we closed it.
All right.
So, yeah, we can't do that at this point. We did close the public hearing. So, can I get another motion?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, to deny the appeal 2023-03, Danny Porco, request for variance from the requirements of the Rocky Hill zoning regulation, section 7.d.3, landscape buffer requirements, to allow a reduction of 50 feet to 25 feet for a non-residential use. Shall be proposed to lots that abut an R40 and an R20 residential district. The property located at 2720, 2736 Main Street, in a C commercial zoning district, ID 14-227 and 14-225.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? One.
He read it.
You're opposed? So 3-2.
3-2.
Does not pass.
Somebody else voted in favor?
We have three. We have
Okay.
3 for, 2 against.
Okay.
Does not pass.
No,
Yep. Yeah. So, nope,
So
that, yeah,
That was a motion for denial.
that was a motion for denial that did not pass. It was 3 and 2.
Who voted for 4?
We had three for the motion to deny. Commissioner Roderick, Commissioner Whalen, myself.
McWhalen and Zach, okay.
Opposed is Vice Chairman,
And Coal.
and,
Okay.
yep. Okay, so the denial did not pass. You've got your variance. Thank you.
So it was 4-3?
3 to
No,
2.
it's
You need
3 to
4
2.
pass.
Oh, so it didn't pass.
We need 4. It did not pass.
Did not
They got their variance. Okay, moving on to old business. What? Go ahead, talk.
That's why when there's only 4 of us here.
I don't think they got denied.
No, it wasn't
They
denied.
did not get denied. They did not get denied.
Right. But you need 4 votes to approve it.
That's true, yes,
It
yes.
hasn't been approved.
It hasn't been approved yet, so they
Right.
can resubmit.
Okay.
You can resubmit. But then how do we,
Well, you could have a motion to approve and not get the 4 votes,
I'm sorry, a motion to approve and not get the 4 votes?
and that would be a denial, or not approved. There's been no motion to approve, there was just a motion to deny, that motion did not pass.
Right, so we're in limbo. So we need another motion.
And you're an alternate?
We need another motion.
I can't vote.
A motion to approve that it's not obtained 4 in favor.
We've never come across this before.
No, I've been on
We've
this board
never-
a long time.
we've never come across
This has
this.
never happened.
Yeah, this
I
has
can't
never
remember
happened.
it happened.
Yeah. Okay, so we need another motion to basically to approve it.
Motion to approve that does not get, well, if.
That does
if-
not-
If
if-
it does not get four votes, then it would not be approved, and then
Got it, okay,
then the commission failed to approve it.
okay. Can I get another motion, please?
I feel like I'm being set up.
Yeah.
I'll make a
No,
motion.
this is uncharted territory for us. If Joe has said he's never run into this, who's been on this commission since,
Christopher Columbus.
yes, then this is uncharted territory for us, okay? Okay, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion. I propose a motion that we approve the application as submitted.
Okay. Second,
I'll second it.
okay, discussion.
Am I?
You can't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's why I asked.
Discussion. Okay, all in favor of approving the variance? 2. All of those opposed to the variance? 3. Does not pass. No, this is it. It has not passed. Yes, I'm sorry. Now we got it. Like I said, uncharted territory. We got it.
That was the clarification.
Yes.
We were not approved.
Yes.
Thanks for your clarification.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay.
Somewhat stressful.
Yeah.
Never done, a little weird.
Okay. Can we move on, please? Old business. Nothing? Any other bit? Go ahead.
Yeah, hold on.
Go for it.
Dave, another issue on New Britain Avenue. Now, this is the guy across the street. Does he have a lumber yard he's running there?
Sells firewood.
Yeah, Dave, I understand that. But he's got more signs than there are on 91 for selling wood.
I've spoken to him in the past, and
Have
he's
you?
removed some, we can speak to him again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, speaking about our friend across the street from our firewood,
More privacy walls.
what's the,
He's put up a lot more privacy walls.
yeah, I think his neighbor did that. Yeah. What is happening? No, nothing new?
There's nothing new, and really about all I can advise on that is to speak with the town manager regarding that, and,
Okay.
furthering any enforcement there.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other business? Hearing none, okay. Approve actions taken in minutes from May 16th, 2023.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of May 16th, 2023.
Second.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? No? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second, discussion, all in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you, folks.